have latched on to the baby formula shortage as another opportunity to promote themselves, peddle these untested recipes, and raise their own profiles. So, part of this is that these tightly networked individuals of wellness influencers sell supplements and other things on the website. And so this is yet another thing that they can use to, sort of draw attention to themselves.
Okay, so let's just take a step back, and we should note that the baby formula industry is one that's very highly regulated by the U.S. government.
And very concentrated,
Very concentrated, too. And, there are a whole host of reasons, including the closure of Abbott Labs plant in Sturgis, Michigan, that is leading to the decline in availability and the crisis that we're facing. But you can't make your own baby formula, right?
You cannot.
That's an important thing we should establish.
That's right. And you should especially not make your own baby formula from recipes you found on social media. The problem is that because it's so highly regulated, that's for good reason. There are issues of contamination, improper storage, lack of nutrients that pediatricians I spoke to said could, really severely impact the development of babies, including salmonella infections or even seizures, risk of low calcium. There have been reports that the FDA has talked about where babies who were not getting the right nutrients in their food, their formula, they were hospitalized. And so this is not an undocumented phenomenon. This is something that we know is a risk. And it was kind of shocking, honestly, to see just how viral these posts were on social media, and that the companies weren't necessarily doing anything about them until we reported on it and asked them about their policies.
It's interesting, too, because there's been stories that have come out with people who make, baby formulas and things and stuff, and how they, at the right time, like providing an alternative. I mean, regulators are saying what? Unless it's, there's oversight, there's regulatory oversight, that parents, families shouldn't tap into these baby formulas that they're finding on social media. I mean, that's basically the bottom line.
That's right, yeah. The recommendations that I've seen from groups that look at this problem, trusted groups that look at this problem, including the American Association of Pediatricians, say you should turn to things like contacting pediatricians who might have samples or extra supply of formula, checking smaller retailers like convenience stores or pharmacies, reaching out to community resources like a local food pantry or other nonprofits, or trying to figure out how to connect with WIC or the U.S. federal program for supplying low-income families with food and nutrition, especially for infants.
Davey, to me, this is as much a story about content moderation on these platforms, and I'm wondering what the platform said when you reached out to them about this dangerous content that's so widely available and going viral.
It was mixed, which was also interesting to see that, sort of see the results. When I approached Facebook, they had a bunch of fact check labels pointing people to better information about the risks of these untested formulas and dangerous formulas. But they did not, there are other things that these platforms can do to sort of stop the spread of these posts. Facebook outsourced this sort of thing to their third-party fact checkers. Other platforms like Twitter actually said that some of these discussions did not violate their policies, and YouTube and TikTok had the strongest policies after we brought it to them, and they removed some videos, and TikTok went even further and killed the search results. So when you type in homemade baby formula onto search in TikTok, it actually won't show you any results. But, the platforms deal with this sort of thing a lot over and over when there is a new crisis and, new potential for misinformation, and they aren't getting that much better at it.
Yeah, this is a bigger, broader issue, right? Ongoing issue in terms of the responsibility of these social media platforms. Davey Alba, technology reporter at Bloomberg News, a story that's certainly part of the U.S. narrative right now, joining us on the phone from New York City. You're listening to Bloomberg Radio.
Catch Sound On with Joe Matthew today at 5 p.m. Wall Street time on Bloomberg Radio. Joe and the team will have a complete wrap-up of President Biden's trip to Asia. That's Sound On today at 5 on Bloomberg Radio.
As the sun sets in the U.S., another market day is just beginning. Bloomberg Daybreak Asia.
I'm Brian Curtis.
And I'm Doug Krisner.
More banks are cutting China's growth forecast, so we ask, how in the world will China meet its annual target of around 5.5%?
And we look at Sri Lanka's default crisis and how it provides a preview for other parts of the world.
Bloomberg Daybreak Asia, tonight at 6 on Bloomberg 1130, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com.
Why do wealth and advisory firms rely on BNY Mellon's Pershing? Maura Creekmore, co-head of Wealth Solutions, explains.
As the wealth management industry continues to transform, growth-minded firms, like yours, are rethinking how to best serve investors for the future. That's where Pershing comes in. Whether registered investment advisor, broker-dealer, or trust company, we see the world from your perspective, and we serve as a true extension of your team. As a Pershing client, you can expect something different. An expansive community of experts and resources that can guide you to success. Our investments in the most innovative and flexible technology allow you to deliver game-changing experiences for your advisors and investors, all with the unmatched scale and capabilities of BNY Mellon, so you can be confident that no matter how your business grows, you can grow with us. How will you take your business to the next level?
To learn more about the industry-leading solutions for wealth management firms and advisors, visit Pershing.com. Pershing LLC, member FINRA, NYSE SIPC.
Everyone seems to be going electric, and Hudson Hyundai has a huge selection of all-new electric Hyundais in stock for you. It's our Memorial Day sale going on now. Tier 1 customers can drive a new car with just $68 down, like a new all-electric Hyundai Ioniq 5, or the all-new electric Hyundai Kona, only $68 down. Even a new Genesis GV70 or Genesis GV80, just $68 down. Hudson Hyundai has over 425 new and pre-owned vehicles in stock. That's $68 down, available on 425 vehicles. Call 800-599-0782. That's 800-599-0782. And all new Hyundais and Genesis come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Call Hudson Hyundai at 800-599-0782 during their Memorial Day sale. That's 800-599-0782. Or visit us online at hudsonhyundai.com. Payments will vary. Credit severity affects approval. See dealer for details.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. That's 800-401-6681.
Some bonds last a lifetime. Some bonds inspire confidence. And some you grow to rely on. These are the bonds worth investing in. For over 50 years, PIMCO has reinvented fixed income to create opportunities for investors in every market environment. So no matter what happens, you can build the bonds that mean the most to you. PIMCO, a global leader in active fixed income. Learn more at PIMCO.com/bonds. All investments contain risk and may lose value. Consult your investment professional before investing.
It's 4:29 on Wall Street. Time for drive time traffic. We do it every 15 minutes right here on Bloomberg Radio. Ed Kalegi to Jackie Robinson Parkway. What do you see?
Jackie Robinson, Tim, eastbound coming in by Forest Park Drive. There was a crash. One lane is blocked. 25 minutes. Back from Highland Boulevard to Belts eastbound. It's about 15 extra minutes right now to Cross Bay Boulevard. Traveling in Manhattan, it is a very heavy ride. Both sides of town pretty much down. The northbound journey will slow from the mid-50s all the way on up. Southbound Cross Bronx, 1 hour and 20 minutes. From the Bruckner Interchange over to the George Washington Bridge. 30 minutes out over at the Holland Tunnel. Looks like 30 minutes out, 10 minutes in at the Lincoln Tunnel. And yeah, it's slow up and down even once you get to the George Washington Bridge. Now traveling over in New Jersey, get some stop and go delays on the eastbound side of the extension as you come over the Bay Bridge over towards the area at 14A. On the Bloomberg 1130 3-day weather forecast. Now for tonight, these clouds will stay with us and they'll actually thicken a bit. Lows will drop down to 55. Tomorrow, partly sunny, peaks of sun from time to time, highs near 70. Thursday, well, the clouds move back in, highs again around 70. And then looking towards Friday, cloudy, scattered showers and thunderstorms, highs of 75 to 80. Right now, cloudy in New York, 67 degrees with the best ride in and out of the city. I'm Ed Kalegi, Bloomberg 1130. Bloomberg Business Week continues.
Broadcasting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130. To Washington, D.C., Bloomberg 99.1. To Boston, Bloomberg 106.1. To San Francisco, Bloomberg 960. To the country, Sirius XM Channel 119. And around the globe, the Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
All right, so it's a conversation we've had definitely many times over the last couple of years, and tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of the killing of George Floyd. And what is the responsibility of the world at large to change the inequities and the racism that divides our society? We're going to talk about this and really the role of the financial sector in making improvements.
Yeah, we've got a couple of great guests on this. Darren Dodson, managing partner at Lumen Capital, will be joining us along with Shartia Brantley, New York Deputy Bureau Chief here at Bloomberg News. First up, though, Charlie Pellet, a check of what's going on after the market close.
Indeed, and just hearing from the home builder Toll Brothers. Second quarter EPS, $1.85. Estimates on Toll were for $8.50. Also after the bell, we heard from Intuit. It forecast adjusted EPS for the fourth quarter, and that beat the average analyst estimate. Shares right now, after an initial move higher, shares of Intuit are trading unchanged. Nordstrom is raising its forecast for earnings and revenue for the coming year. The latest sign that higher-end U.S. retailers are optimistic that affluent shoppers will continue to spend despite high inflation. Shares of Nordstrom, they're up by about 7% in late trading. Well, it turned out to be a mixed day on Wall Street. The Dow had a turnaround in the final hour of trading, up today by 48 points, up by about 0.1%. S&P down 32, a drop there of 0.8%. The Nasdaq Composite Index down 270 points, a drop of 2.4%. 10-year yield 2.75%, and spot gold at $18.66 the ounce, up $13 the ounce, higher by 0.7%. Spot gold, as I mentioned, higher. West Texas Intermediate crude down 0.1%, 110.16 a barrel on West Texas Intermediate crude. Well, as for the market backdrop and the Federal Reserve, Randy Watts is Chief Investment Strategist at O'Neill Global Advisors, and he was our guest right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
Very, very nervous about the economy right now, and I don't think the Fed is at the point yet where they can stop raising rates. I think you have at least a few more months of tightening before they're going to be in that situation. And so while I think we could have a bounce here, I think we haven't made the final low for this cycle.
Among today's big decliners, Snap plunged 43%, Abercrombie & Fitch after earnings down 28.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
All right, Charlie, thank you so much. So tomorrow is the 2-year anniversary of the death and killing of George Floyd, a tragedy that set off another round of soul-searching and discussions around race relations and inequalities here in the U.S. and really globally. It was a global conversation. We continue to struggle with taking the right actions and turning all of the discussions into actual actions, and that includes actions in the financial sector. So we have the perfect guest to talk about that.
Darren Dodson is managing partner at Ymca Capital. Darren joining us via Zoom from Oakland, California. Also with us is Shartia Brantley, our colleague here in New York. She's New York Deputy Bureau Chief at Bloomberg News. She's with us in the Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studios. Darren, I want to start with you and just get an idea for what you do at Ymca Capital to help identify bias and bring about systemic change within the industry.
Great. At Ymca Capital, we're a private equity, venture capital, and growth fund of funds. So we focus on investing in these types of funds in the private markets and partnering with Stanford University and some of the leaders in implicit bias social psychology in the world to work on applying evidence-based strategies to reduce implicit bias in our underlying funds so they can see overlooked and underestimated entrepreneurs throughout the world.
Well, Darren, what has been some of the initial feedback and what progress have you seen? I believe this report was published in 2019, so here we are 2 years post George Floyd. What are you seeing right now?
Well, we've seen unprecedented kind of bias. And when we look at shocks in the global financial markets like we've seen of late, we see a large increase in the inhibitions that lead to not investing in women and people of color, but overlooking them and leaving returns on the table. So that's something that our research team at Stanford has really pioneered research around. And so our work of really helping managers and our investors and others throughout the global financial markets to stay true to the course of some of those big announcements that were made after George Floyd, of course, was killed. We have to kind of stay true to the course and really work on those biases so we can get past them to see the value in financial markets.
You know, it's interesting, Darren, even if people choose to ignore that it's the right thing to do in terms of being more diverse, more inclusive, you know, your company's website notes that the vast majority of investments are underperforming because of racial and gender bias. I mean, there is an actual performance aspect to this. Hang on for a second, Darren. We do need to head to a press conference. New York City, the commissioner there holding a press conference about the subway shooting suspect. Let's go to there now.
DA Jana Lieber, and thank you once again for taking the time out to be here. Today, the manhunt for Andrew Abdullah is over. Less than 3 hours after the NYPD released his photograph to the public, Mr. Abdullah knew he had nowhere left to run. Your NYPD investigators identified him as the